Hello everyone, myself Piyush Kumar. It is always giving you immense pleasure when your students are ultimately getting successful. One of my students, Dinesh Prataap Singh, got rank 208 in UPSC CSE 2021. And in fact, there's another thing which is very important, that he has improved his rank in a very good way. And that's the reason because of what I would like to invite him to share his journey and the way he has managed the things, like the way he managed to score, or the improve the rank. So he is just going to share about his journey, the things that he has done specifically with respect to history optional, because he has seen this journey in a very close way. So that's why I would like to give it to Dinesh Pratap Singh, and he is going to share about his journey specifically with reference to history optional.
Thank you so much, sir. Hello all. Thank you very much, sir, for introducing me. Uh, Here, I think we will talk broadly about from the perspective of history optional, and I'll go from step by step where I started it. So the first point which we will discuss here is why to choose history as an optional, or why did I choose history as an optional. So that's an interesting story. When I came to UPSC preparation, I, like many of the aspirants, was confused which optional should I choose. And my strategy at that time was that I used to read the basic books about every subject. So for psychology, I studied the class 11, 12 NCRTs. For sociology, I studied NCRT, and for history too, I studied those books. And after giving 15 days to reading basic books, I realized that history was the subject in which I was most comfortable with. It was a subject which I thought that I can study by myself for long hours, and it interested me a lot. So these were the few factors based on which I chose history as an optional, and it has been very good to me by God's grace till now. So now we will see history as a subject in UPSC, how it is different from other subjects. So history's syllabus is very broad, as we all know. It covers almost all the topics from ancient to world, which even include the current happenings also. So in that sense, covering history sometimes becomes a race against time. So that's why we should be very particular and in our strategy, and very sure about our sources. So I think we'll go down through both the papers of history and see what should be the broad strategy of history. So if we go in the paper 1 of the history, there are two sections. One is ancient India, and second is medieval India. Now, rather going into the book list for these two particular areas or sections in the paper 1, I will rather stress that what should be our strategy to approach these both areas, because book list is mostly available to both the like all the students. And again, in paper 1 we also have a section of maps, which is of 50 marks, and which generally sounds or seems to be very difficult to history students at the initial level. It was same for me. So in the mapping section, what I want to say that it is very important section, because it can be a high scoring section. Out of 50 marks, there's a very good possibility, if we do it properly, we can score 35 to 40 marks easily. Second, why it's important is that it is the first impression of ours when we go in attempting that particular paper. So on paper 1, the first question, mapping question, and if we do it well, it shows that how deeply we have studied that subject also. So now, to prepare maps, one thing is that how do you map? So there are two parts. First, we have to remember the location of every site. So if I give you an example, suppose this is a map of India. So this is the rough outlook of map of India. And now suppose we are talking about let's say Mauryan sites. Let's talk about Mauryan sites. So there is Magad, the capital Patliputra here. Then there is a site called Junagadh here. And then there is a site, let's say, called Takshila here. So first we have to remember the location of every site in every section. So there is a section called there are Paleolithic sites. Lithic sites are there. And then there are Harappan sites, etc. So there are various sections, and in every section, every type of topic, there are various sites. So now we have taken the example of Mauryan sites. So here we have to remember the location with the boundary of the map of India. So we should know that okay, at this particular end there is this location, so this should be Junagadh. And in view of India's map, near this boundary, this location is there, so it should be Takshila. And we can also make our lines, etc. That okay, this is the line which cuts this map here. So if the location is around it, it should be Patliputra. So basic fact is remembering the location. So that is the most important part. And secondly, we should prepare. We should remember from the basic detail about that particular location. So for example, Takshila. So for Takshila, we have to first tell that where it is right now located. It is located in this particular district of our country or current country, wherever it is. Secondly, we have to say what the historical importance of that site, in terms that Takshila used to have a university. It is associated with Chanakya Vishnugupta, who is the author of Arthashastra, and then which other famous personalities, be it Fayan or travelers, visited that particular place. So that should be, those 4-5 points should be prepared for every site, and those should be remembered. And third important thing in mapping is also that that we also use technology. So preparation of map cannot happen that we just see the map and we'll remember the site. We have to practice it, and I think the best way to practice is right now is using the technology. So we know there's a section of My Maps in Google Maps where we can put particular locations on a blank Google map. So what I used to do it, whatever I prepared various Google maps based on various eras. For a Paleolithic era, I prepared a Google map, and then I mapped the location on that particular Google map, and then I remembered that that particular site. So it was easy for me, and it was also more accurate for me to remember all those sites. So this is all about mapping. Secondly, about paper 1, in ancient India and in medieval India, one is the concept of writing out historians. So in both these sections, views of historians are very extensive, and they are on both sides of the line. So we should be aware of the concept in the totality, and then we should able to reference their names in order to explain our points better and in a more balanced way. And that also tells us that we have a very nuanced understanding or a very depthful understanding of that particular concept. So that is very important. Second important thing in preparation of these two topics is that not just go about facts which we go into the GS preparation. Here the conceptual clarity is important. If we learn the conceptual clarity, we will see that there is a repetition of certain concepts across different topics. For example, when I learn about the transformation from Neolithic age to Harappan age, what I see that first agriculture settlement started happen, then there was a subsistence base, it expanded, and with the increase of subsistence base, there was more agricultural produce, and based on that agricultural produce, trade and commerce started, and then towns came up, and then the civilization came up. And for some reasons, that civilization went down, and when the again civilization came up, which we see in the Mahajanpada period, again the same factors were there, that agriculture grew, trade and commerce grew. So if we learn things in a conceptual manner, we'll be able to better relate these topics across the particular subject. So that's one important thing. And secondly, it is very important to have a balance in answer writing. So when somebody asks about decline of Harappan civilization in a broad sense, we should not just be set on a one particular aspect of it. Rather than we should give different dimensions to that particular concept. That there can be factor of natural hazard can be there. There can be factor of a war, and how different historians have substantiated their argument, and then how that is counter argued also. So that should be shown our understanding. In the section of medieval India, it is very important that we specially focus on the art and culture aspect. So the architecture during the medieval India, the literature during the medieval India should be specifically focused upon and should be prepared separately. Now let us come to paper 2. Paper 2 includes modern India, and secondly it includes world history. Generally, it is seen that in paper 2, my scores have mostly been higher than the paper 1. So for that to achieve, we should have a proper formatting of answer in both the papers. For example, the introduction, etc., we should include all the basic facts or all the events and references in our introduction, so that when we go to our arguments, we don't fluctuate and go back and forth. So the basic books, and again the depth of understanding into the modern India paper should be much more than what we study for GS. And again, there should be interlinkages between various topics within modern India. For example, if we understand the concept of role of princely states during the early stage of our during the early part of the 20th century, what we see that earlier I am giving an example that earlier they were very supportive of the colonial government, and then slowly they fell apart from it. And similarly, they were first very much non-reactive to the national politics, and then slowly they got involved into it. So here we need to understand how both of these things are connected, and not just in terms of facts that when a particular conference was formed or things like that. So Plassey to Partition for Modern India by Shekhar Bandyopadhyay is an important book which gives very deep insights into it. So, and again, our answer writing formatting is very important while we go for modern India paper. Secondly, the world history paper, the paper is very broad, so we should be using sources which are very specific. And the important part in world history is that we can take a liberty by going through online sources, be it Wikipedia at some level. Then there is a series of BBC World History series, we can use that, and there are various lectures by Salman Khan's academy, who is a US MIT based. Now let us come to the world history section. So in the world history section, what we see in the history syllabus is that topic have been very specific. So there is first of all we see the sections of various thinkers where we have to learn about broad concepts in history, which is given by broad thinkers such as Kant or Rousseau. Secondly, then there's a description of events from 1750 to the World War II. And finally, there are concepts which even today have a relevance. For example, the end of the Cold War era, or the events in Europe which happened after the end of the Cold War era. So one thing which can be done in history syllabus is that we can use the online sources with liberty. So there are courses on world history by Salman Khan Academy. There's a BBC World History course. At the same time, we can study some important concepts through the academies of various European countries also. So they have a history section, so we can cover it from there. And finally, we should have short notes for every topic which we are preparing in the world history section, and also in all the papers in general. And while we go attempting the world history section, it is also important that if it is a possibility to connect it to the current happening of events, it is always helpful. And if we can connect a particular example of today with an historical event, or how an historical event unfolded, that also can be used, and that will provide a uniqueness to our answer. So I think this is the broad level at these 4 papers can be approached. Again, answer writing practice is very important in history optional apart from our knowledge gain. So that should be equally focused upon during the preparation. Thank you very much.